Hey, my name is Paul Castro Jr. I'm a voice actor based here in Los Angeles. This is my home studio. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive in what goes into dubbing for anime or animation and how you might go about dubbing for that particular type of work.
Dragon, a creature of legend and myth.
I've worked extensively in theater, film, and television. I've worked on shows like Blue Bloods, God Friended Me, Law & Order, but many of you probably know me from my voiceover work like Rindo Kanade in Neo the World Ends With You, or Dragon in Studio Chizu's Belle, or Allegro in Netflix's Vampire in the Garden. In college, I became interested in theater and acting, and I wound up taking an intro to theater course, and I asked the director, the professor of the class, I'm very interested in voice acting for like video games, anime, and animation. I'd love to get into that. And they said, if you want to become a voice actor, you got to learn to become an actor first. Eventually, years later, I wound up making the move to Los Angeles, where I live now, so I could work in video games, anime, and animation. And I've been lucky to do a lot, and it's just a really exciting time to be doing voiceover, especially from your home studio. Voiceover is a very interesting industry right now because there's people all over the world who are able to record professionally from their home studios like I do. I work with New York, Chicago, even LA from my home studio. So it really is accessible to anybody, anywhere. In order to get started in voiceover, there's a couple of key things that you do need to even get an audition. You need an interface, a microphone, all of the stuff that you're able to record into your computer. So with that out of the way, you can get started in actually getting your voice onto the computer and sending it to clients or casting offices. I think when many people hear the term voice actor or voice acting, they think of only using your voice to create characters. But it all starts from the body in the same way you would approach any other character in acting. It is a full body experience, understanding what these characters want, their needs, everything from their backstory to their moments before. And this is very important for creating a three-dimensional character in voice acting. So when I get an audition or I book a role, I really do start from the beginning and say, who is this character? What do they want? What are they fighting for? What is their contribution to the story? You don't really get to understand that without any sort of formal understanding of what goes into character analysis. I really need to do my homework and break down these scripts and find out where the beats are and what makes this character tick. A typical week in the life of someone like me or a voice actor is pretty much you're auditioning like 90% of the time. And then you got like 10% of the time that you're very lucky enough to get a job and you get to go in and record. But really the job is auditioning, being kind of a professional auditioner. It's also making sure you research the things you're working on, knowing if this is a comedy or a drama, what style of a performance you're going into, if you have to work on an accent or a dialect. There's a lot of homework that goes into acting. I think today in 2023, it is very important to understand the gear that you're working with. We're not at a time where it's going to be acceptable for all studios for you to be recording on an iPhone or into a very small digital recorder. Having good quality is going to reflect the type of work you're sending out to prospective clients, especially ones that want you to record from home. So having an understanding of the gear that you're using and how to navigate it, especially like a DAW and an interface and microphone technique and placement and having proper acoustics can be very important to your career and the types of clients that you get and the amount of money you can make. Now we're going to head over to my standing setup where I do most of my auditions and my recording to give you an understanding of what goes into a recording session for a job that I might book. To get started working as a voice actor professionally in auditioning, you're going to need a couple of pieces of equipment. Starting off with right here, my microphones. I've got the Sennheiser MKH416 shotgun mic, and right next to it, I've got my TLM 103 by Neumann. That's a condenser microphone. They both got pop filters on it. That's what these things are. And these are both being connected straight into my preamp, my Audient ASP 880, and that's connected to my interface, which is the Audient ID14. Now, I have an external monitor here that's connected to my MacBook Pro laptop, which is in this closet set up right here so I don't hear the fan noise. And This is basically where I spend most of my time auditioning and working. Sometimes I need to be connected to a client via Zoom, so I've got my webcams here and a lot of light so that the clients can see me, especially if they want to do some sort of inspiration for the character based on my performance. And I've got 2 iPads here so I can see my script, monitor my DAW, my digital audio workstation, make sure my levels are all good, or to reference picture. Sometimes you have to match lip flaps, or sometimes they have a very rough animatic, so you can see what's going on if there's a lot of action or movement. So this is really kind of an ideal setup for me. It didn't start out like this. This took a lot of building and customizing, but I'm really happy with where it's at, and it's a really great setup that has done me wonders for a lot of professional working gigs. There's a lot of things I do to get ready for a session. I always make sure I'm warmed up. Either I've done some vocal warm-ups, scales, I'll lightly sing along to music, because when I'm getting ready to record a session, I don't want the first thing that I'm saying to be when I'm in the booth recording actual dialogue. I want to make sure that my voice is ready and warmed up without being too strained or overused. So I'm making sure I'm properly hydrated the night before and the day of. Sometimes I'll do straw phonation with like a voice straw here, where you're basically blowing into a small tube, making sure your vocal cords are vibrating at a good pace, and really going over my lines, going over my script, reading as much as I can if it's available, making sure that it's I have a good motivation, a good action, and a good objective, even if it is something that I'm referencing from another language. I want to understand the character psychology so I can really be on action to achieve whatever the character wants. Mic technique is a crucial part of recording, especially when recording from home, because you are your own engineer, so you have to be accountable for everything that you're doing on your side if they're not controlling your interface remotely. So you want to make sure that your microphones are in a good place. Oftentimes, we think of microphones hearing us like our ears do, so whether it's at your eye level or at your ear level, and making sure they're a good distance away from your mouth, 8 to 12 inches. Another thing that's important to understand is proximity effect, how close you are to the microphone. If you are closer, it's going to sound more rich and more intimate. If you're further away, it might sound more open, like you're in a faraway space. A director might ask you to do these things, get closer or further away if it's applying for the scene that you're working on, but oftentimes they'll do it in post. So making sure you're consistent, always on mic, which means that you're directly in front of the shotgun or the barrel of the microphone, so everything's being captured consistently and clearly, and it doesn't sound flat at any moment. But understanding technique and when to use certain things like proximity effect is very important, and something that a rookie might, getting into the scene and getting really into the action, might get themselves off mic when they don't realize it. Making sure that these things are in place, having good mic placement, understanding your mic technique, really listening to your director in terms of the sound and making sure you're at the right proximity from the microphone. These are all very important things, but ultimately at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're directly in front of the mic so you can focus on your acting and your performance. Making sure that you're in your body, that you are using your limbs and you're not just kind of a statue standing still, orating. That's what's going to create a memorable and authentic performance, more so than the technicality that we often get our minds wrapped up in, especially working from home. So I've just been given a script by Audient, something I've never seen before for a character, so we're going to come up with a voice on the fly, and we're going to record an audition and see how it comes out.
I am a dragon, a creature of legend and myth, feared and revered by all who know my kind. To most, I am nothing more than a monster, a beast to be hunted and slain. I am not a mindless creature, driven solely by instinct and hunger. I have lived for centuries, witnessed the rise and fall of kingdoms, the birth and death of civilizations.
I think there is this conception that you just sit in your booth all day and you just record nonstop and you just book all these things, you make all this money as a voice actor, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into it that's not actually in the booth. It's sometimes looking at your auditions and analyzing your sides and looking at the history of the projects you're working on. It's a very exciting time to be a voice actor. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope this has been inspiring to you if you're interested in pursuing a career in voiceover or voice acting. Many thanks to Audient for making this video possible, and I look forward to hearing you all very soon.